like the mutton chops.
Yeah, and trying to do kind of like a. I watched that Grant miniseries on the History Channel. I'm just like, man, those old Civil War facial hairstyles are kind of cool. So I got the, kind of handlebar sort of thing going. Um, how
I,
are?
That's mom.
I,
She's
I
Hi.
said I thought I heard the voice. I heard the voice. I'm in the other room working. And I was like, And I said, oh, I think that sounds like you.
Yep, it
All
is.
right, time for another. What's today's topic?
I don't know what's
No
today's topic.
idea. Well, I figured I
Okay.
would check in and see how you were doing. Um,
Yeah.
was this the port that you got?
Oh yeah.
What is that?
Well, still a little tender.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't taken the bandages off yet. Tomorrow I can actually take a shower.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting better though.
Yeah. What is it? What is it for?
So what they do is they cut a hole here and they cut a hole down further above the breastbone, and they have this tube that's connected to a little cylinder. It's probably the size of a quarter,
Mm-hmm.
and it's got a hard plastic thing on it. And that end they sort of stuff down in the lower hole. Then they thread the hose up into the vein. There's a vein that goes along the clavicle, and they actually suture it right into the vein, so that and then all they have to do is the nurses have a needle. You just have to prick the plastic interface on that thing. It goes through my skin, but I guess they put a little lidocaine. It just feels like a pinprick, and then they can just use that instead of having to.
Yeah. So if
do
you're
this with my
gonna
arms.
constantly be having blood draw, have them draw blood, or they have to put an IV in so they can give you chemo, or they have to put an IV to do, a blood transfusion.
Mm-hmm.
When you have the port, they do all of that directly through the port, so you're not constantly getting stuck.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how are you managing in the heat? It's gross.
Yeah, I got my air conditioning in my bedroom. It's not the best air conditioner. It was like the cheapest one that you could get at like Target. But it's, I have my bed right next to the window, so it doesn't need to get the whole room cold because it's just cool in my bed. Benny pretty much just disappears to the basement all day now because it's just cooler down there. Comes up every once in a while.
Eddie's going.
Yeah.
She just comes every once in a while.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'll let you guys get to it.
Thanks. How's the heat over there? Like,
It's I was hoping for some rain, but it actually doesn't feel bad now. But by the end of the day, it's usually really bad.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yesterday was bad.
Yeah. And are you able to do any like gardening work or anything, or right now you're just sort of taking it easy?
Yeah, I'm taking it easy. The garden, I'm not supposed to do anything with this yet. And then yesterday I was at the hospital for scans because they can't use the biopsy from 6 years ago for the genomic testing. They have to scrape the bones. Nothing about this sounds good.
No.
So in order to get current tumor material so that they can send to Mass General so they can do the thing. The problem is you need to know where the tumors are. So I haven't done a scan in a few months. So he wanted me to do scans yesterday. So we'll see.
So when do you go back?
Not this Thursday. I have another infusion next Thursday. And if my PSA keeps going down, that could be a sign that the tumors might be shrinking. And we'll stay with that. But he still wants to go ahead and do the genomic testing so we have the information, which I've been telling him since I started with this guy in October or November or whatever it was. I said, let's do the genomic testing. I know we won't be using it but I mean, down the road, it would be good information to have. And it's like, well, let's do the chemo first and see how that works. I don't know why you can't do more than one thing at a time, but
yeah.
So
just really eager to get your bones scraped, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it's a needle biopsy. I don't even have the nerve to ask them how they do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I probably wouldn't.
I mean, this alone I have to admit, this procedure was amazingly quick. And there were like 6 people in this OR. they had me in a surgical gown and a hat thing. And there were like 5 or 6 nurses and a doctor that came in, and there was somebody recording all the stuff. It was really, and they gave me a little bit of fentanyl. Boy, that stuff is good.
Mhm.
Yeah, so between the fentanyl and the topical anesthesia, I didn't feel a thing. I mean, I would feel him like tugging when he was threading the.
Wait,
thing
okay,
to
so
him.
you're conscious when they're drilling into
conscious,
your.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because the fentanyl just kind of makes you in like a twilight state. You know, where you kind of like, I'm not feeling, I don't care what I'm feeling kind of thing. It was fun. So there was no pain at all. And yesterday it was a bit sore because of the swelling where the incision is, but today's a lot better. It's still a little bit tender. But hopefully by tomorrow it'll be completely better. And then within 2 weeks I can actually go swimming with it. So.
Nice. You have plans to go swimming?
Well, we had talked about the idea of maybe.
Oh, right, the group text yesterday.
Yeah,
Yeah, I wound up looking at my phone like pretty late in the day and saw like 30 missed texts, and I was just like, I don't even know where this begins.
I know.
I totally follow everything. I was just sort of like, all right, when there's a plan, somebody just tell me.
Yeah, no, we're not ready.
I don't have jobs, so I'm flexible.
Yeah, no. So we're talking about going possibly to there's a beach in Worcester, State Park in Worcester, which would be closer for Donnie and Emily, and it's only an hour for us. And Emily was talking about possibly coming out here to stay overnight at Kate's, but then Kate wasn't sure she felt comfortable doing that, and we'd go up to the DAR the next day. But Worcester worked out well.
Yeah,
it's sort of midpoint, so
there's some cool places in Worcester too. And
yeah, I figured it was midway. It's an hour for them. It's an hour 12 for us, and I probably it's even closer for you. So
yeah, it's like 40 minutes.
Yeah. So that would work.
Yeah, that'll be nice. Good for. Have you had a lot of fireworks in your neighborhood?
Not yet, but it usually starts up pretty soon.
Benny is here and being crazy. All right, bud. Okay.
Do the cats get nervous? Does Benny get nervous?
He did at first when he was very small, and people would set off fireworks. But more or less, he's sort of unfazed now. He's usually like just in the basement napping if they're coming off at this time of year. But there have been a lot of fireworks going off here. It's a big thing on the Palmer Facebook page. Just everybody either complaining about it or complaining about people complaining about it.
Or complaining that there aren't enough.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not a fan, but at least I can tell when they're fireworks.
Yeah. You can tell between that and your neighbor who's shooting off his.
I don't even know where it happened. I mean, it was like 11 o'clock at night. I checked on the Facebook page, and other people were talking about it too. And was just like, yeah, it's like it was clearly gunshots at 11 o'clock at night. I don't know if it was just like somebody like shooting at like a coyote or something, or
I mean, there are hunters, I suppose, too, right? Is not hunting.
Probably not at 11 o'clock at night in town. But no, I mean, nobody like found anything. Nobody really knows what happened. I mean, there were no like stories of anybody being shot, so that's good.
Yeah,
like that would have been a pretty clear story about what happened that night. So I don't know, but it was just weird.
Well, it could have just been somebody going out their backyard shooting, because
true,
people do that.
A landline.
I know.
Yeah.
That's where we have all our spam going to that.
Nice.
Oh, it's Walgreens, of course. Sorry.
You're good. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Well, as long as no bullet holes end up in your house or your windows.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely like close enough that I could like hear it pretty clearly and know what it was, but it wasn't like next door, like the street over or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the town just released the budget proposal for next year. It was just sort of skimming that, and like immediately one of the things that's noticeable is they've cut like public health funding, and it's just like
Great. In a pandemic.
in a pandemic, like we could like not even just like, well, let's at least keep it the same. It's like we're gonna cut it. Just like I don't know what the logic is there. Has did the hospital seem at all different? Because if
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, they're coming out of it. The one nurse I had, he was on the COVID unit. He
mhm,
said they had beds for 10, and there was only one person there right now.
mhm. That's
So
like
it's got
Cooley.
at Cooley, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I know Andrea the other day was saying that she didn't think they even had any at
Yeah.
Holyoke. Um, but you know, who knows what's going to happen in the oncoming months?
Yeah. So now New York is going to be quarantining, mandatory quarantining anybody from Florida
Yeah,
and other
yeah.
places.
I know Arizona is also looking like it's one of the hot spots now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's it's sort of funny just reading that like Europe is basically going to issue travel bans
Yeah.
on Americans. It's like certain
Well,
irony to it.
he wanted a travel ban. He's
Yeah.
got it. Not exactly what
I imagine him. I can see the president doing something like declaring a travel ban on Europeans, just to be
Yep.
like,
just to be.
"You're travel banning us? No, 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 no! I'm
We're
travel
gonna-
banning you." I'm just like, for what?
Which if he had done in the first place, because that's where the COVID
Mhm.
came. Our COVID came from Europe, not
Mhm.
China.
Yeah,
So-
and also like, it's it's not necessarily like the travel itself that's like the problem. I mean, obviously you want people to like stay put, because I mean, I also think like you can look at especially China and see like, oh, we could have like expected this to happen, but it sounds like we were kind of having cases kind of secretly emerge like
Yeah.
before like mid-March when it really like came to a head.
Yeah.
And I imagine like that's usually how it goes. Like you can't necessarily predict that you're going to get a deadly outbreak of something far enough in advance to like actually implement that type of stuff. I know a lot of people who have been sort of thinking like, oh, I think maybe I had COVID, but it was like in February,
Yeah.
which is sort of before we have like reports of it really coming. And who knows really, just because at that point like nobody's thinking like, oh yeah, this isn't just the flu, or
Yeah.
I don't know, it was harder to define when you didn't really know what it was.
Yeah. Well, I find a lot of people they'll say that, and then they'll say, "Well, I went to my doctor. He gave me some antibiotics, and
Yeah,
it cured it." Well, then it's worse than COVID.
yeah, yeah. I know
'Cause
somebody.
Uncle Joe had that cough,
Mhm.
and I know he's convinced he has it, but still hasn't taken a antibody test yet. But
Well,
it
I don't know if
was
you
a lot
saw
of-
that story, but there's some research suggests that the antibodies don't last as long as other
Don't last.
antibodies. Yeah.
like a couple
So
of months.
Yeah. So that causes concern about the effectiveness of a vaccine, and B also calls into question the idea that you get it and you're done, right? Like
Yeah.
that you could very well wind up with COVID again if your antibodies don't really stay in there very long and aren't super effective, which kind of
I'm not sure
highlights.
that.
Go ahead.
No, I'm not sure that they know yet fully what.
Yeah.
This coming out with this stuff.
Yeah.
So who knows in 6 months what they'll come out with.
Well, that's
as
the
far
other
as-
thing too, is just like I understand people wanting to reopen, and when you look at like the cases kind of dropping a bit and saying, okay, it's gotten to a point where maybe we can safely start to reopen. There's also, that might be like, we might have like in some places slowed the spread and been able to contain it to a degree, but there's also still so much that we just don't know.
Yeah.
Like I've seen petitions online to like reopen schools and not require social distancing or masks, because there is research that suggests that like kids are not more susceptible right, to COVID than other groups, right? It's not like the flu where kids and the elderly are the most likely to like be like die from it, basically.
Well, but the teachers and the administration certainly
There is that, but also like there is also research that, I mean, it's not that they're not susceptible to it, it's just that they're not more susceptible to it. And then
Yeah.
also like there's still just so much that we don't know for sure, because you also find stories and research suggesting that, you know, the virus will leave lasting chronic effects, and not just on your lungs. Like there are people who I've seen having like liver issues as a result, and like other issues that are from complications with COVID. So like, why would you want to risk it with your kids?
I know.
You know, I know that, you know, we're talking about reopening, but there's no talk yet of like how to do childcare, and how do you ask parents to go back to work while kids are not, especially in the summer where kids wouldn't be going to school anyway.
Right, that's right.
And even if you could do it, like how do you do it safely? What is the protocol? And if you're not going to require social distancing or masks for the kids, it's just like, how many parents, I'm sure there would be some, but how many parents would actually like feel comfortable sending their kids to that kind of childcare?
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah.
It's a tough thing when you have young kids.
Yeah.
And you have to go to work.
Yeah. Is mom doesn't have to go to the office, right? She's
Well, she goes in every couple of days.
Gotcha.
And usually for not very long, and they try to stagger it so that only half the people are there at any given point in time. So
yeah,
they'll minimize the risk, and then she goes out and does all the shopping and stuff. So I'm not out and about. But you know, I've been starting to do a little bit of you know, with friends, doing some social distancing, kind of like what we do.
So that people have been like coming over?
Well, no, we've been meeting like outside somewhere.
No, that's what I mean. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And we sit with masks. I mean, I have no problem sitting outside, and this is the time to do it. But you know, come October.
Now it's maybe not the time to do it just because it's like 90 degrees.
Well, no, I mean, but this is the time to do it. The weather. You know, I'm not. You know, I saw something Uncle Rick posted. Somebody was asking him about because he's running outside, and somebody said, "Well, we have the spin bike in the spinning room." I can't believe they actually open up gyms and have spin class, because there you're in a very tight room, and supposedly they have social distancing. But how much social distancing can you have? You're all sweating, you're all breathing really heavy. You're in an enclosed room for an hour, maybe hour and a half, possibly. And he said he asked his doctor if he was at risk, and the doctor said yes. And he didn't understand that. And I'm like, because you're indoors.
Yeah.
And you're breathing all this crap that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I know Dave just went to go visit Sarah, I think. That's where he was flying out to. And he had to fly, and I know like Kristen just went to visit to Nevada.
Right.
And you know, they had to fly. I'm just like, I can't imagine that feels super great to feel like. Obviously if you're going out to like Texas or Nevada, that's how you do it. But you know, Dave mentioned like, I think they're not having people, they're like leaving the middle seat open. I'm like, that doesn't feel like enough. Like in an airplane?
No, I know.
Where like the air is just recycled.
Well, the recycle, what I learned is the HEPA filters in those planes are like twice as effective as they put in hospitals. They circulate it faster, like by a factor of 2 to 1 compared to, because hospitals have to have HEPA filters also for the same reasons. And so the air in the airplane is fine. The problem is if somebody sneezes and you don't have eye protection, because that's another point of entry, you still run the risk of, and you don't have a mask, you still run the risk of breathing that in.
I do think that they are requiring masks, though. I think
I would hope so.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would ordinarily the plane air is not the problem, but it doesn't mean somebody couldn't get on the plane and sneeze and not cover.
Right, or like if you have to use the bathroom.
Yes, another point. Yes. And then getting on the plane is the other problem. The airport is not required to have any kind of filtering.
Mhm.
Getting onto the tramway, into the plane.
Right.
There's all kinds of places where you can
Yeah.
pick it up. Aerosol.
Yeah. And those flights too, like, I mean, even if you have a layover, you're on that plane for like an hour or two.
Yeah, you're there for a
And-
long time, and
and-
that's
Yeah.
you're breathing. So it's gonna be a while before I take a plane flight again. But
Yeah.
unless you could guarantee me there was nobody else on the plane,
Yeah. That would probably cost a lot of money, I would imagine.
yeah.
Yeah. How are you kind of just feeling with like, I mean, you've probably been at the house or the hospital
Yeah,
for
pretty
a
much.
while.
The COVID is sort of the cancer. We go back and forth, which is worse, the COVID or the cancer. They're both pretty sucky. But the anemia that it's caused me
Mm.
is made it so that I can't really go outside and like walk or
Mm.
so. Normally I could do fine isolating from COVID if I could get out on the bike or just get out and walk. But I don't have the energy to walk, so
Yeah.
that's tough.
Yeah.
But and the cycle seems to be after the first week or so, because this is the ending. Tomorrow will be the end of the second week of infusion. I actually feel pretty good,
Mhm.
and my hemoglobin level is probably down to about 8, which means as of next week we'll be down to about 7. That seems to be the pattern.
Mhm.
And at 7 hemoglobin, I'm just like barely able to lift my body out of the chair.
Mm.
It's just that fatigue.
Yeah.
So I get a good couple of days in that middle week
Mhm.
where I can do things. But as far as gardening, the garden's all done. I mean,
Mhm.
once you get everything in, thanks to you guys, I just sit and I water it, and I
Okay.
weed every while. So
When do you start when do things sort of start to come in and you start to pick it?
the tomatoes usually come in around September.
Oh, wow.
Takes them a while to
Mhm.
come in, but the cukes are growing big, and I expect to get some eggplants. So
Mhm.
that'll be probably the end of July, August for the cukes for sure, because they're fast growing.
Mhm. Nice.
You didn't have a garden this year, did you?
No, I didn't do very well last year, and thought I don't know why I thought I could do this. So, which is sort of funny because like one of the things about last year was like, I worked 2 jobs and just had like so much going on that like the garden was just super easy to just not get to,
Yeah.
or like, I have a long day of work, so I'm not gonna like get up early and deal with the garden. And now I don't know when I'll have any jobs. So like
Now you have time.
I did a little bit of like weeding the other day, and it was just like it was out there for like half an hour. I was like, no, I'm not doing more of this. It's just too much.
Are you doing any running in the mornings, or?
I have not. I was for a while, but it is just way too hot. Like even running in my room with the air conditioning on, it just still gets too hot.
Well, I mean, in the morning, if you go early in the mornings, it's usually
I'm
70.
not gonna get up that early to do a run.
Fair enough.
I'm trying to find my sleep schedule has gotten all sorts of weird, but I'm trying to find more time to like get out. What I really want to do is like find places where I can take like the kayak or the paddleboard, and that they'll have like a place where you can pull over and just like swim for a bit. It feels like
that's great.
I don't know where that exists. Like all the places that I go are typically like either you're not supposed to swim or it's just not really deep enough to really swim.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find like other than like the Connecticut River, which is fine, but it's a bit of a trip and like it's not the best place to like swim.
I'm not even sure if it's rated for swimming, is it?
Yeah, I don't think it probably isn't, but I mean you can.
I know you can't eat the fish.
Oh really?
I mean, you could put it at the Oxbow, and there's a couple of sandbars along the way that you could you could just sort of the one that's under the trestle bridge for the bike trail.
Mhm.
There's a sandbar right there that a lot of boaters usually end up hooking up, and
Yeah.
then you can just sort of wade in
Yeah.
if you wanted to just get cool. I'd be worried about the current, but
Yeah.
getting pulled. But
Mhm.
as opposed to something like a pond or a small swimming hole or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to find. I went someplace and I can't remember at all where it was last year, but it was like a pretty big. It was like a man-made lake. So there's like a whole bunch of little islands, and you can go, and there are places, plenty of places where people just have like their own sort of little beach area that they
Oh,
like
is
kayak.
that by you?
No, it was pretty far away. It was. I
Oh,
want to say it was like northern Massachusetts, but I don't remember where, and I can't find it because I have no idea like what it was called. So I'm just
yeah,
like, I have this app on my phone that has all these different boat launches on it. I'm
yeah.
trying. I'm just like every day. I just pick a few just to see if it looks familiar because they usually have like pictures, or I can like Google Maps it, and I can't figure it out. But
Yeah.
that was a good place. Like it just don't remember where it was. It was probably like an hour and a half away. Um, yeah, there are. I don't really know where the swimming holes are around here. It's like there's
I
so many
people
bodies of water, but no
I know
one seems
people
to know
have
where
their
you
own little
can
swimming
swim.
hole.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
like
know Deerfield River. There's
mhm.
some places along the Deerfield River that you can swim, but again, I don't know what's private property and what's
Yeah,
public.
yeah,
There is one. I wonder if that park should be open. The one on Route 112. This is in the opposite direction of you. It's
mm,
actually closer to Littleville. On Route 112 there's a small pullout that's a state park that
mm,
has a little, like, there's part of I think it's part of the Westfield River, actually,
mm.
that you can probably just wade in. There might be some deeper areas, I don't know.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
ever ride, do you ever contact Matt and see and go with him? And you guys
No,
could just meet up somewhere.
yeah, no,
You know,
I haven't. I haven't. I know he just went to the Swift River, which is not too far from my house. Um,
yeah, he seemed to like that.
yeah, it's a nice. It's a little shallow, but it's nice. It's a nice place. It's pretty cold. Um, he went, I think, upstream, which tends to have a lot more shade. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a good place. It's usually pretty crowded, particularly at the boat launch, but it's also kind
Yeah,
of like a narrow river, so like it can sometimes be a little. I mean, when you're kayaking, you're definitely more than 6 feet away. Like if you're
yeah, oh
getting
yeah,
if
sure.
you're getting within like 15 feet of another kayak
Yeah.
outside of
Then
the
you're,
boat launch, you're like doing it wrong.
yeah,
Um, but unless you're like with other people and trying to
yeah,
stay close, but it's not usually a problem. It's just that's been a place that I've gone a few times and has been more populated than I prefer. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, there's a place I tried to go up to Orange, Miller's River, I think it was,
yep.
um, but I wound up finding a different, like an old boat launch that is sort of like run down and they don't really use anymore because they made like a little like public park area that you can launch your boat, but that was closed. And I don't really know what parks are open or what is not. It's been a little bit confusing because some parks I think are still closed or like they don't have like.
Well, all the state parks should be open. And
Oh
when they
really?
say open, that means the pavilions are closed, but and any campgrounds are probably closed.
Mm-hmm.
But and they're going to be opening in July, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But the lakes should be, because the DAR and this other lake that we're looking at in Worcester, they're all DCR. They're all Department of what does DCR stand for? Department of, it's the state. It's, I don't know. And I often wonder why it's DCR, but the folks who run the state parks, they all had the same thing. They were closing the pavilions, but any lakes are open. So,
Mm-hmm.
and bathrooms are open. So,
Yeah.
but if it's not, if it's a town park or something like that, it might be.
Yeah.
It might, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I don't really know. I probably went before parks started opening, but yeah, they had like the parking lot was just like completely closed off.
Yeah.
So it's just like okay, I was able to find like a different thing that wasn't part of a park. And that's a good place, but it's also
Department of
Of
Camps
the-
and Recreation. That's what it stands for.
Of what?
Camps and Recreation, I
Oh,
believe.
gotcha.
Camp and Recreation.
Yeah.
They should all be open, but yeah, we went up. Judy had this suggestion of going up to Vermont, up in Harriman Lake. It's a reservoir up there, Harriman Reservoir, and it's definitely one of those places that you can't take a GPS to, because it took us to some place, but we ended up going through these trails that were not roads, that you needed like a 4x4 to get through.
Wow.
For a couple of times that we were like spinning our wheels, I thought, I mean, if it had been muddy or rainy at all, we would have gotten stuck. It was one of these things where each wheel, you could just sort of feel it going like this.
Yeah.
And the signs would say, road not maintained. It's like, it's not even a road.
Yeah.
It's more like a path that the rain cut through. But we never found it. We never found it. We went all the way up there. It was a beautiful ride. We went through like all the hill towns, Peru, and all the way up through back roads to up to through Vermont to northern Massachusetts, and it was gorgeous. But never found the damn reservoir, so I don't know where it is. But the GPS sometimes is like that in those places.
Yeah.
It just don't work.
Yeah, I mean that was sort of where we stayed at Loon Lake was sort of like that too. Like it could get you like into that area, but navigating.
I always thought Loon Lake it did pretty well, only because
I think overall it did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that like with a place that we stayed at last year, I seem to remember having an issue with like the GPS got you to where the dirt roads are, but would not navigate through the dirt roads.
Yeah.
So I remember driving around just trying to like look for the numbers and try to find it. I mean, Tall Pines was super easy to get to. That's just like on the road.
Yeah, it was right off the state road there, Route 9.
Yeah.
So. But I liked that house last year. That was a good house.
Yeah, it was a good place.
I mean, I didn't particularly appreciate having to walk down to climb down the incline to get to the beach, but it was fun.
Yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, not that annoying.
When are you going? Are you going up to Vermont for something?
No, nope. I went to Connecticut for a couple nights. That was nice. It was not as secluded as I had hoped it would be, but it was fine. It's a smaller lake. Maybe.
What part of Connecticut is it?
The town was called Killingsley. I have no idea where in the state it is.
East, west?
No idea.
You drove there.
Yeah, I went south.
Okay.
I have no idea where in the state. Central, I guess, maybe?
Because the eastern part of the western part of the state is really beautiful.
Yeah. I think it was probably closer to the eastern part.
Yeah. So more like along where Lyme and Mystic is? By the sea? By the ocean there?
I don't know. I don't know Connecticut at all. I've never been to Mystic. So.
You probably have, but
I don't think that I have. I don't even think like my classes ever took field trips there. Like I know that was like a popular field trip.
Yeah, there was.
But for the aquarium, but I don't even think I've been to Mystic Aquarium.
That's a beautiful ride.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So.
Yeah. Are you getting ready for Kate's baby?
I am.
Yeah.
We've been painting the swing set, although we kind of stopped.
Yeah.
When I say we, I mean Mom. I mean, I did some, but Mom did most of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been so hot to even get out there and paint.
Yeah, for sure.
But if I get out.
Are you leaving those colors that in the picture that you sent? They're going to be kind of the brighter, like red. Yeah,
it's going to be the basic primary colors and some yellow. Yeah, so we just got a little bit more. We just got the green, I think green to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think Mom did the yellow. So nice. we just got a little bit more to do. And then, yeah, it looks nice now. I mean, now it's not as the paint kind of keeps the wood from splintering, so it's not
Mhm.
as much of an infection hazard.
Mhm.
But that was a lot of work. I mean, I think
Yeah.
I did something to my rotator cuff, taking down the shed. That's the other thing. So right about now, it's getting better because I've been
Mhm.
putting ice on the shoulder. I
Mhm.
thought I might have actually torn it, but it seems to be getting better, which is a good sign that
Yeah.
it's not probably just strained.
Yeah.
But I don't even remember doing it. I remember just
That's
yanking the
yeah.
stuff down, and then all of a sudden, a few days later, I'm like, oh my god, I can't
That's
lift my
usually
arm.
I feel like that's usually how it goes.
Yeah,
You know, like you don't really remember like doing any particular thing. It's just the repetition of it
yeah, maybe
eventually
that's what it was.
catches up to you.
Yeah,
I had gotten a rowing machine, and the first like day that I did it, I didn't. It was tough. It was a different kind of rowing than I'm used to, and like 8 hours later, I just like go to pick something up and I just can't do it because like my whole arms are just like shot. I'm like, they did not feel this bad while I was doing it or in like the immediate aftermath of doing it. It was just like hours later. It was just like,
yeah.
no, we're done. We're done for like 3 days. No.
And then it got better.
Yeah. It was fine. It was just like, because it uses like very different muscles, sort of like rowboat kind of rowing
Yeah.
versus like kayak kind of rowing
Yeah.
or even paddleboarding. So like, it was definitely different muscles than I'm used to using. And so it just felt very, very sore.
Yeah, you were doing a lot of running and paddling there for a while.
Yeah, I was trying to. I mean, just a thing to do and stay active. Well, I can't really, there's not really anywhere to go and not too much to do around this house that I can do at least. So
What has to be done around your house?
what doesn't?
Well, why don't you tell me? I can help you.
Well, there's always the roof. That's a thing, but I'm trying to figure
What-
out if that might be possible by the end of the year.
You talk about having it done? Or
Yeah.
doing it?
No, I'm not going to do it myself. I can't. I don't have the know-how or the time. I mean, I guess right now I do, but I definitely don't have the know-how. And there's like more stuff that needs to be done than just like replacing the shingles. Like, I think that also there needs to check out some stuff in the attic and the chimney. My garbage disposal doesn't work.
Oh, I was going to talk to you about that. So what is it not doing?
Anything.
So did you hit the reset button on the bottom? There's a red reset button on the bottom.
I don't. I'll double check, but I don't. I didn't know that was the thing.
Also, you should have a hex wrench that's pretty thick, and if you don't, I can send you one because I got a couple. And in the bottom of the disposal, there's a place you can stick that hex wrench and then turn it in case there's something that's jamming it. And that's if you drop if a bone gets stuck or a fork gets stuck down there and it causes it to short circuit, that could trip the thing to not work. That's why there should be a red button somewhere.
Well, it doesn't even seem like it's getting power as part of it. Like,
well, that's what it looks like. I mean, if you trip the circuit breaker on the unit, you'll just like flip the switch and nothing will happen.
Mm-hmm.
So there should be a reset button,
okay.
And it may just be that you trip the circuit breaker.
Okay.
And even if it isn't, changing a garbage disposal is relatively easy.
Mm-hmm.
So I can help you with that.
Okay, that would be cool. I also was trying to figure out like how to even like disconnect the power because like I don't want to like do anything with the garbage disposal.
Yes.
Just by turning it off, like I want to make sure that it's not getting any power at all before I do anything.
Well, so I'm guessing it's wired directly into the wiring of the house.
That's what it seems like, yeah.
So you'd have to find a circuit breaker that controls that, and that's a tough thing to do because normally you would run the garbage disposal and then hit the circuit breaker when it goes off, unless it's labeled. Are your circuit breakers labeled? Sort
of. Some of them are.
We could guess. We could figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so many circuit breakers. I can't get water to my spigot outside.
Oh, yeah, Mom mentioned that. Didn't we fix that problem before?
I remember that you had found the valve and like turned it on when we did the garden last year.
Yeah.
I thought that I had turned it off for the winter and then went to go turn it back on. This summer when I went to go water some, what was it? I think I was trying to I was trying to like clean my kayak, and it's just easier if I can use the hose. And so I turned the valve and went upstairs and tried to use the hose, and nothing was happening. No water was coming out. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe I didn't turn it off. And so maybe I'll go down and like return the valve back to where it was. So I did that and went back up, and it's still no water.
So maybe that's not a valve, is what I'm thinking.
Well, there's only like 2 valves in the basement.
I remember having a hard time tracing it, but we need to trace the pipes that go back. I remember having a hard time finding it,
but it wasn't like, was it the valve that's like pretty close to the stairs? Do you remember?
I don't remember it.
Okay. I can only find like 2 valves period in the whole basement that aren't like attached to the water heater.
Yeah, that's weird because that's really weird.
I mean, there is one of the other valves like straight up doesn't turn. So I assume that wasn't the one that you had turned, because I can't get it to turn at all.
I thought it was the one by the stairs, come to think of it. But
yeah. I mean, that's the one that turns. So, and as far as I can tell, it looks like it's a pipe going out of the house. Yeah. So I assume, I mean, it kind of lines up pretty well with the spigot. So I assume that that's what it was.
Huh. I guess we'd have to trace that pipe to see where it goes into the. It's got to come into the input. Your main water in. Mm-hmm. There may be a valve closed there. Did you close valves like for the winter? Or?
I only closed that one valve that I thought was the one that you must have turned in the summer. That's the only thing that I touched, and I reversed it. Yeah, I have no idea. And then I tried to like have it turned to like in between all the way to the left and then all the way to the right and see maybe if that's what it needed. And no, I just every once in a while like a little bit of water will like trickle out, but I can't like spray it. So I thought it might be like
we should trace it back to the water main, because I mean you're not getting water anywhere else, but it's just not coming out but you're getting water in your sink and your bath.
Yep, yeah. Get water inside the house. So I thought maybe it was like the hose is like maybe like jammed or something. So I like unfurled the hose and left it for a few days and then tried it again. And it.
Well, if you take the hose off,
I can't. That thing is like on there.
Well, we'll just.
I guess I could get a wrench. I could do that.
Get some pliers, yeah.
But
I should come out and give you a hand with some of that stuff. And the for sure the garbage disposal, but definitely go underneath there and look for a red. Mm-hmm. It'll be a red button. It could be a rocker switch, but it's usually a red button. And press that, and that'll reset the circuit breaker. And then try it. And then if not, you need a hex wrench that are specially designed for those. And I can send you one, like I said.
So is this just like you've owned a home for?
Yeah. Well, I've replaced
30 years.
Yeah.
When did you get that house?
Well, 85, 86, 85, 86, somewhere
in there.
What year is
it now? 2012.
2012. But I mean, the house was 10 years old, but when it got it, so.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I never would have thought, like, check the bottom of the garbage disposal.
Well, that's because garbage disposals don't last forever, and I've had to replace it a couple of times. And they're not hard to replace, but again, every situation is different.
But you were able to replace it? Like, you didn't have to have, like, somebody come in and do it?
I'm not exactly Joe Handy here, so. But it all depends on how the plumbing is set up down there, because you should have a pipe that goes. Do you have a dishwasher?
Yeah.
Does it connect to?
No. Well, it's not like, it's one of those like mobile ones.
Oh, okay.
I like move it up to the sink and then
plug your garbage disposal connects to the drain, basically, probably.
Yeah.
Okay. So you'd have to disconnect that. Then you got to pull up pull up the connection that's under the sink. There's a nut you got to loosen,
Mm.
and then you just got to make sure you have silicone to go around the pipe. Any piping that, if there's any extension piping, silicone around the edges will keep the water from dripping.
Mm.
But I would need to look at it. But definitely check underneath to see, and actually feel around if it's an older. Do you know the model of the unit?
Nope.
Is it? It's not an Eagle Beaver or whatever they call it.
I have no idea what it is.
Check it out.
It does look like it could be pretty old, so maybe it just needs to be replaced too.
And it could just be that it needs to be replaced. That's quite possibly. But we do need to figure out the power to that thing before.
Right.
And I thought I had a power tester where you could just put the thing up to the. You just touch the cable and it would tell you whether there's power to it.
Mm.
I had one at work and I think I brought it home. I just got to find it.
Mm.
That would be a lot easier than trying to guess. But then that's easy. Once you take the thing apart, there should be just a couple of screws that disconnect the. Because mine actually, you screw the copper ends of the wire in, and then you seal it up. The other end is a plug that goes into a wall outlet, which is under the sink, which is nice because all you have to do is unplug it.
Yeah.
And you
I've seen other people have that set up.
Because yours is an older house, it's probably wired directly.
Yeah, I try to follow the wire down into the basement, but it's wired with like a similar cable to a lot of other things. So once I go downstairs, it's just like I have no idea which one of these is like going up to the garbage disposal.
Yeah, I gotta find that tool. I thought I took it home with me from work. We just gotta touch it, and it'll tell you whether you're getting power, and there's no risk of getting electrocuted.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, it's also one of those things like it's been fine because I don't necessarily need a garbage disposal, right? Well, the problem winds up being that like if I use that half of the sink, if the water runs too quickly, it clogs.
And you have no way to drain to force it out.
Well, I mean, I have like a little hand plunger that usually will get it to work. And like it just means that I can't run the faucet full speed. If I go like half speed, it's able to like drain as fast as it's like clogging or whatever. So it's been fine. The other side of the sink is totally fine. So that's been fine. I just have one of those.
Yeah. So there'll be a pipe that goes from the side of the garbage disposal into the drain that's in the other sink. Mm-hmm. So as you put your food in there and it churns it up, it goes through the pipe. And then basically goes down the drain, the same drain that your second sink uses. So that's how it works. So really, it's just that length of pipe you got to disconnect, and the nut underneath. Easy peasy.
Wait,
but
so
it would be nice.
You got your house in '85, you said?
Yeah, I think Steve was born in '84. He moved when he was 1, so it might have been '86 because I think it was. 85.
Okay. 35 years.
Yeah. It was built in 1980.
Nice.
So, well, I guess. It's all right. It's done all right.
Yeah. Do you feel like connections to the house, or is it just
course.
Where you live?
No, because you guys were all raised here, so. Mm-hmm. And I love this area, so I wouldn't move. I mean, it's not like I move. I mean, sometimes this neighborhood gets, I was telling Mom, because it gets so noisy here, I wouldn't mind moving to a place that was a little more remote because it's just so crazy noisy sometimes. But
besides the neighbors or like?
Besides the neighbors, yeah. Between everybody doing stuff, I mean.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm pretty close. Like my neighborhood is like pretty compact, so you can usually hear somebody's like mowing their lawn and working on.
Didn't used to bother me, but now with the F-15s flying overhead and the USA garbage trucks coming every day because everybody's on a different day of the week. So it's not like when you lived in the city, you'd have garbage 1 day a week or 2 days a week. Every day those damn trucks keep coming by. Just really loud.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What are you gonna do? They'll have to carry us out. They'll have to come and clean the place out when we're done. You guys.
Have you, I don't know if this is a weird question, but have you and Mom thought about like what you will do with the house? Like,
No, not really.
Yeah. You haven't finished paying it off, I imagine.
No,
Okay,
we still got a lot to pay off. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, 35 years is probably too quick to pay off a house
Well,
for
no,
normal
we
people.
refinanced.
Well, especially if you have family and then
Yes.
add to it, right?
Yeah, we added the basement. We added the
Right.
family room, and then
yeah.
a couple of times we've paid off some car loans and stuff with that
Mhm.
as well. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, that's not a bad debt to bring into retirement or into old age.
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think I'd go anywhere else.
Yeah. Do you feel like satisfied having lived most of your life, your pretty much your entire adulthood, like in Massachusetts?
Well, I mean, adult is 21, right? I wasn't in Massachusetts when I was 21. I was living in Brooklyn. I mean, I was living in New York.
Mm-hmm.
I was living in.
Or like, okay, so you like settled in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
You've been here for 35 years.
I've been here for 35 years, yes.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I know a lot of people, like this was supposed to be our starter home, and this is going to be our ending home, so.
Yeah. So
yeah,
was the idea when you bought the houses, you figured you would like try and get something else later? Or?
Yeah, I think that, well, that's kind of what they said. But the nice thing about it is the house was always so small,
mm-hmm.
which is not really generally good. But when you're a small house and with big houses around you, the other houses make this house more valuable.
Yeah.
So, the house is really appreciated in value over the years. So.
Yeah. And I mean, like, that house is small when you have 4 kids. But,
yeah.
Now that none of us
perfect.
live there anymore, it's just the 2 of you. Small house is probably ideal.
Yeah, no, I know. Just like your house. I mean, that's what I said to Mom. I mean, the advantage of your house is that it is a good starter home for somebody who's looking to.
Yeah.
So you should have no problem selling that to like a newlywed couple who's looking to just get their foot in the door. So that makes it valuable. If you buy one of these, like Judy had that, those $1 million houses, but the problem is it's where do you go from there, right? I mean, how do you get a seller for $1 million house? They're few and far between. But
yeah.
So there's something to be said about having a smaller house for. Obviously you have to make do. If you have kids, you have to make do for the kids, and we sort of did that. I mean, we stopped when we had 2 boys and 2 girls. So
yeah, that was good.
We didn't want it to be all. We didn't want it to be all.
So you
with the boys tonight.
So you lived in Brooklyn. That was for college?
No, I worked in Brooklyn.
You worked in Brooklyn.
Yeah. I was commuting in from the Elmont on Long Island. Mm-hmm. That was my first computer job. Yeah.
Yeah. What was the job?
I was programming. I learned. I had gone to one of those schools that taught me how to program in 3 different languages, and then I got a job. There were like 30, 35 people in the class, and I was like number 3 in the class.
Nice. And
they hired. This was Federated Department Stores in Brooklyn. They hired the first 3 people out of that class. So I actually went to work with these 3 guys that I was friends with from the class, and we'd commute in together sometimes, and then I had to learn a different language. It was a whole different computer system altogether. So I had to learn a 4th language when I got
Spanish?
there. No.
Sorry. So what programming languages did you learn?
So basic assembly language, which was a lot of fun, but it was really geeky. RPG, which is the language I eventually became to learn for the AS400 that I became proficient at. And COBOL, which is a very verbose language. A lot of writing, a lot of English language. And back in the day, the Federated Department Stores had this hardware called Data Point, which was the predecessor to all networks. I mean, it was a coaxial based. I'm starting to geek out. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
Token ring network that was really kind of cool. And you programmed in a language that was interpreted, but it allowed me to create a graphic screen with one command. Basically, it was really kind of cool. And so I had to learn that, and they would use those little microprocessors to do the error correction for all the department stores around the city that they had. And so they would take big mag tapes from the mainframe that had all the errors from the cash registers. They would dump them into the Data Point, ARC network, and then they'd have a room full of people that were just doing data entry all day. And the data entry is the programs we were working on. So it was a lot of fun.
How long did you do that?
I did that for about 3 years, and then I decided. Then, believe it or not, I actually found, because I was trying to get off of Long Island, there was a consultant in Fairfield, Connecticut, who actually specialized in Data Point hardware and IBM hardware. So I thought, oh, this is great. It'd be a way for me to get some IBM experience, because I knew that Data Point was not going to be. Data Point went out of business in like the 80s, I think, the late 80s. I knew they weren't going to be around for long, so I went to work for this guy as a consultant, and I did a lot of programming in Data Bus, which is the language I learned. Actually, developed a mortgage origination package for them, and the real estate people would go in with these little ASCII terminals. This was in 1982, 83. There was no internet, anything like that. They would go in with these little portable ASCII terminals, and they would just put in all the information about their mortgage, and my program would actually take that, validate all the data, and it would give them either rates, like what the monthly rate would be for their house that they were looking to buy, and they would collect all their information so that they would eventually just print out an actual HA mortgage loan. So it was really kind of ahead of its time. And we worked with a realtor for that. Realtor kind of subsidized that whole thing. Ravis Real Estate, based out of Connecticut. And so I did that. But in the meantime, he was also installing some IBM System 36s, and he got me exposure to doing some stuff there. And that's what allowed me then to get the next job, which was up in Holyoke, working for another consultant. And all they did was IBM System 36s and IBM System 38s. So they hired me, not even knowing I had never written an RPG program, except for in school.
What was that place?
It was called ASC Services, and eventually that was bought out by the company whose software, Beepix, it was a manufacturing ERP package. And that's the package we were installing. So I was hired to basically go and be the technical guy that would say, I'm here to set up your system. Tell me, what do you, and learn their business and try to figure out what kind of modifications they might need. And I had to code that in RPG 4, which was eventually they sent me off to to Woonsocket, which is where the headquarters was. And I spent a week there learning the System 38 and the AS400. Which was the new machine that IBM had just come out with. And they actually sent me out to Chicago to convert their software from RPG 3, which was System 36, to the native AS400, which was a lot of fun to do. I mean, me and this other guy were selected to go out there and just change the code. And then we said, now we could advertise that we have code that runs natively on the AS400, which was a big deal at the time because whatever. I mean, the AS400 was a great machine. I love the AS400. And that's what gave me all the experience. And the AS400 was a great, great, great machine. And that's where I started getting more experience. So I was with them for, I guess, about 5 years, maybe 4 or 5 years. And then then actually that's when, probably 84, right around when Steve was born. I think a couple of years after that, I decided to quit because Steve was born. We were thinking about having you, although we didn't know it was you. And I wanted to get off the road because I was traveling all the time.
Yeah.
I'd be in, Portsmouth, New Hampshire one day, down in New York City the next day. So I just wanted to get off the road.
Yeah.
And so I got the job at Strathmore.
Right.
And I was there for about 6, almost 7 years. And I loved Strathmore. I would have stayed there till the very end. And again, it was another AS400 shop. There were other programmers, so it was actually kind of nice. And then that's when International Paper bought them out. And so this is where this habit of companies buying out other companies, never a good thing.
Yeah.
Never. So IP bought us out, and eventually, and I had left probably about 3 years before they had closed the Westfield branch. So I was there for 7 years, then figured I gotta do something. I gotta get out of here because I know they're gonna close this place. And I took the job at Atlas Copco, which was they made air compressors.
Oh,
again,
right. Yeah.
Yeah, another AS400 shop. I took a job there for coding and hated it. I mean, they completely ignored any experience I had with the systems end of things because I was a pretty accomplished systems guy, and even from IBM's perspective, I mean, I could reinstall operating systems. I was doing, and they just had me sitting there coding, which is fine. So I was there for 3 years, and the company was just really, it was really male dominated, and they were really.
I mean, I still feel like that's like a lot of companies in general, and especially like.
Well, especially being a construction equipment company, right? And so some of the women I had were, some of the friends I had who were women. I'd listen to these guys talk to them, and it was just awful. It was just terrible. So I decided I was going to leave, and my friend, woman I worked with at Strathmore, had taken the IT manager position at Canson, and she wanted me to come work with her. So I went, and I loved it. It was just terrific. Canson was just and I was there for 22 years. And I eventually moved in. When Joyce left, I eventually moved in to the IT manager's position. And it had some drawbacks. It's a small company, but they treated me really well. And again, even that. So at the time, we were owned by R.J. Wiggins, which was a British company. Then the French bought us out. Then the Italians bought us out. And then the Americans bought us up.
And then it closed.
And then it closed, yes. Fucking Americans, right? Yeah. So then they closed, yeah. So, but it was, it was a good company, and I was lucky I was stayed as long as I did, and they kept me on till the very end.
Yeah.
I was there like pulling hardware down at the very end.
Yeah. I mean, that was pretty sweet because I remember you would always have like notepads and like coloring supplies and stuff, which is like super great, like little gifts for people.
Yeah, I mean, I really did like the Strathmore line. And then when I came to Canson, it was all other art products as well. And we did some work with Royal Talons, which is the Dutch company. And they do paints. And now, of course, now that the Italians own us, Fila own us, now Dale Rowney, Windsor Newton, they're all part of our product base now. So we were bought by the Italians. The Italians were funny. They sent us out for a week to learn this new system they were putting in. And that was a year before they closed us down. So it's hard to believe that they spent a lot of money sending us out there.
To Italy?
What's that?
To Italy?
To Italy, yeah.
All right. Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I went to Milan for a week, and And the Italians were actually kind of fun to. They were just funny. They were completely disorganized. The French were arrogant, as you might imagine,
Mhm.
and the Italians could be arrogant, but they were generally just like funny,
Mhm.
and they were kind of incompetent.
Hence,
But I like
hence closure.
I kind of like working with them, but they yeah, it was a shame that they and then this I can't think of the company that just bought us. Uh, hey Chris, I can't think of it. I must have blocked the name of the company out. The American company. That Fila had bought this American company, and the CEO of that company decided that he wanted to merge Canson's machines and everything into Wisconsin, which is where they were. So they moved all the equipment, all the knives and the what was the name of the company? I blanked on the company that bought Canson. Dixon, yes. Well, not Dixon. The other one, the one Paycon, yes. Dixon was another whole thing. That was a whole other thing. The pencil people, because they bought us first, and then Paycon bought them, and by buying them, they also bought us. And the guy from Paycon said, "We want everything in one place. We want it to be in Wisconsin." Well, by the way, we have two of these machines called Beelematics. I'm sorry, couldn't take you in to show you this machine. It was this huge, almost maybe 50-yard wide machine that did padding, automatic padding. And the thing was amazing how it was absolutely incredible. It was like $1 million machine. We had two of them in there, and we had just put the second one in, and they moved both of those machines to Wisconsin. And they discovered there's nobody in Wisconsin who knows how to run those machines.
Go figure.
So they had trouble hiring people to run the machines.
Mm-hmm.
But I imagine they probably finally did it. But
yeah.
So their goal was to close everything down. And the company, as far as I know now, is half of the warehouse was being subleased out to another paper company, a different one. And the marketing area is still part of Canson. And it houses the Canson marketing department. There's like 4 people, I think, still there.
Gotcha.
So, but that's my work history. So it was like maybe 8 jobs tops. I mean, not counting my teaching job.
That was.
But I mean, nowadays,
that was in Montana.
No, that was in New York.
Oh, gotcha. Wait, what
did you do? It was
Montana.
In Montana, that was my year of volunteer service. I worked in a resource room on the Cheyenne Indian Reservation.
Gotcha.
And that was great. That's where I met my JVC friends, and it was just a beautiful country. It was absolutely gorgeous.
And you spent a year there?
It was a year, yeah. Some of the folks stayed a couple of years. The poverty was awful. The alcoholism is every bit as bad as they say it is.
Yeah.
But people were generally friendly. And it's funny because it was right on the Crow and the Cheyenne Indian reservations were side by side. Crow and Cheyenne were like natural enemies.
Right.
The Crow actually fought with Custer, and the Cheyenne fought with Sitting Bull.
Yeah.
And so we heard stories of people, Crow Indians on one side of a party and the Cheyenne on the other side cursing each other out for helping Custer.
Yeah.
This is all this time later. They're still fighting about it.
Yeah.
But so then I came back and I decided to teach for a year, and I taught in Queens. I taught English, language arts, and I think they made me teach religion. Yeah. To the 7th and 8th graders. I went a whole year. And then that's what I decided, because what I was doing is, I had to work during the summer, so I would work in a warehouse or something, and I worked at this mass mailing place. And I met a guy that I used to know in grammar school, and he was telling me he had gone to the Grumman Data Systems for programming. And he was going to have a job when he got out, blah, blah. And the future was computers, right? And this was really prior to the internet. Really, the PC hadn't been developed. So I decided, we did all programming on punch cards. And you have to carry them in they load them into the punch card reader, and that's how it was done.
Right.
So I decided to take that's when I decided to go to Grumman. I only worked a half a year. The second year, rather than stay at St. Leo's in Corona, I ended up getting a job at Our Lady of Blessed Sacrament in Bayside, and it was with the idea that I would only be there for half a year because I knew I was going to start classes in the winter. And so I did. I taught another half a year. I taught English 7th and 8th graders, and it was fun. But in those days, they just handed you a book and closed the door. And
Yeah.
said, it's not like today where teachers are actually taught to teach. I mean, I didn't know.
More or less.
No, they pretty much are. The teachers.
Well, and then they handcuff them to the books.
Well, then they handcuff them, to the test,
or to the tests, yeah.
Yeah. They, I mean, they basically just, which was unfortunate because I had a minor in education, but all that meant was I read some books by Noam Chomsky on linguistics.
Nice. Oh, yeah.
No, this was before Noam Chomsky was a political activist. He was actually a linguist. And so I read all this stuff about language, and it didn't help me at all in terms of teaching. How do I get a kid to understand parts of speech, for example? So the training of teachers has gone completely in the opposite direction. It's, going back to the elves, that was my plan to teach after I got done here. I mean, they really did teach you how to teach. And I wish I had the training back then that I have now, because I might have stayed as a teacher, because I was really bad at it. I was really, really bad at it. But I really liked the kids. The kids were a lot of fun. And so, yeah, but I was only there a year, and I didn't want to do too much more damage.
And you were
if I screw up a computer program, what can happen, unless you're programming like, rocket ships or stuff like that. But I wasn't. I'm programming MRP runs and capacity planning and stuff like that. Worst case scenario is you get a bad number.
Did you get interested in programming in college? Like you took a class and you're just like, oh, this is pretty fun, or were you kind of into tech stuff growing up?
No, I wasn't. That's the thing. So I kind of came to this crossroads, and I said, look, there are two areas I could go into. I wanted to do something I had never done before, and tech was one of them. I had I didn't know what any of those games were that were coming out. Didn't know anything like that. Or the other thought was nursing. I think I might have made an okay nurse, but I wasn't sure how the medical thing was going. I really was not sure because even back then in the 70s and 80s, it was not clear what was happening with healthcare in this country. So I decided to opt for going to programming.
The more things change,
Yeah, I know, it's true. But these nurses, are absolutely incredible. I mean, now that I have firsthand experience, they're just amazing people. They really, really are. And it's a lot of stuff that they have to do.
Right.
And that's stuff that, if you don't get the needle in the right vein.
Right.
So I was a little bit nervous about that. Again, the idea, if I damage a machine, it's not a problem.
Right.
If I damage a person, it's a problem. So that was sort of my thinking. And actually, it turns out I actually loved programming. It was a lot of fun, and it was a lot like non-Euclidean geometry to me. The truth tables.
Nope.
You never took non-Euclidean proofs. Prove that angle A is equal to angle B.
Oh, is this a geometry thing?
Yeah, 5 postulates.
Okay, geometry is just like a lost year.
Yeah.
I was so bad at it that I just kind of gave up.
That part of geometry, because there's the Euclidean geometry, which is all like area and surface area and circumference.
Most men can't find the Euclidean geometry.
Yeah, I had no
joke.
What? Say it again?
That was a bad joke.
Say it again?
Most men can't find the Euclidean geometry or table.
Oh.
As a sex joke.
Okay, that's what I thought you were going.
It didn't go well.
It does sound like that though.
Mm.
But I just remember in high school coming home, when we had truth tables. I would come home and I loved doing draw your little truth table, and you had to do your hypothesis. And the cool thing was that 2 people or 3 people could have different ways of getting to the same result.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how programming is.
So is it like it's like a puzzle kind of a thing? Is that part of
you
it?
have to prove it. You have these basic 5 givens that are postulates that you have to kind of know.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to use these postulates and the problem before you to prove that this line is equal to this line.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have a truth table and you say, well, based on postulate 1, line A is equal to line B. Therefore, this angle must be 90 degrees because of postulate 2. You basically make a truth table, and then you come to the conclusion that, the original thing you were trying to prove is down here. So, and it's exactly like programming. That's exactly what you do when you program.
Yeah. Huh.
So I know Mom makes fun of me for not being a numbers person, but it has nothing to do with numbers. It has to do
right.
And it has nothing, and logic is something that can vary from person to person. There's no right way to come to a solution. I mean, there might be more efficient ways to come to a solution, but
right.
But anyway, I managed to get a career out of it, and it treated me pretty well. And I did have a thought toward when I knew that we were getting bought out by all those companies. I thought, I could go back and I could learn cascading style sheets or Java or HTML or anything like that, which is the new languages.
Right.
Java would have been the one to learn because or C++. But, it's like I didn't want to have to learn another language again at this late stage,
Mm-hmm.
And then end up being this, 55-year-old guy in among a bunch of kids who are like, whiz kids with this stuff.
Right.
But I didn't want to have to deal with that.
Yeah. Yeah, C++ was the only thing that we sort of learned in high school. That was,
yeah.
I think I took a C++ class in like 2003. Yeah.
Did you like it?
I don't remember it at all.
I guess that's
I don't think that I did. I wish that I did, because I do really wish that I knew any sort of programming now. Just given how much is like online and on computers, and how so many of my interests are like, I don't know, like it would be nice to have any sense of like what coding even is really, just to be able to like, maybe if I want to make a website or mess around and make like a little puzzle game or something, like I have no idea where you even start with any of that. I'm like completely, like I know how to use technology, and there's like some base troubleshooting I can do, but I'm like completely illiterate when it comes to like the language of technology or computers or programming or anything like that.
Well, they have those.
I just know how to use them.
They have those boot camps that are free, like for Python, learning Python.
Yeah, I've tried that, and there's a place, I think it's called Code Academy. It's like a free online place where you can kind of learn how to code.
How does that work?
I tried it a year ago. I don't totally remember how it works, but it didn't really, like, it just didn't like click with me. It was sort of like geometry. It just like wasn't clicking. And, I know that like if you put your mind to it really, like you can kind of get through a lot of things, but like there also is a level where it's like, if the longer it takes for something to, like, I do feel like there's like a moment where it just like clicks and you just like get it. Not everything. Whoops. Not like everything, but like to a point where you understand like the base of what it is that you're even looking at. And that never like happened with me. And like at a certain point, it's just like, I'm going to just do something else. Like I
do remember learning when I had to go to Woonsocket, Rhode Island, the headquarters where ASC Services was, and they wanted me to learn, because I knew RPG2, which was the basic System 36 RPG, which the history of that language is so interesting. But they wanted me to go from RPG2 to RPG4, which was on the System 38. and I just remember my head hurting that whole week. It was, and they had these earphone training packages that would step you through how to do things, and it taught me enough to be able to do some basic code. But then ultimately, what you're really doing in the job I was in, I was actually going in, looking at other people's code and trying to figure out. So you have to know how to use the debugger. You have to know how to debug programs. And it was mostly debug. It was mostly, very rarely did you get to write a program from scratch. You know, and if you did, you would just copy code from. And that's the thing with C++. It's because of procedural languages, you basically have includes that include all the code. So there's very little writing that you're actually doing. You're actually borrowing most of the code from other people. And it's open source, so that means, you know, you can get code from anywhere that can do whatever you want, really. But I had signed up for a Python thing, but I don't know. I just don't have the wherewithal these days to sit in front of the computer for more than 20 minutes. So
Yeah.
I have a good Visual Basic book if you're interested in learning Visual Basic. That was easy, and that was pretty fun. And that would only give you an advantage in terms of although interfacing with Microsoft products, because it's designed to work with Excel and Word and things like that. But yeah, it did, you know, I often think about the path not taken, but I think the, I mean, I really enjoyed programming, and I was pretty good at it. I mean, I got pretty good at it, so.
When they would send you out to like Chicago or Maine or anything, like how long were you like gone for?
Well, in that case, it was like a week, because they wanted me and this other guy, Steve, to convert the code to go from a System 36 mode to native AS400 mode. Native mode runs more quickly, it's more efficient, and plus it's a marketing thing. They can say, oh, now BPIX runs on the native AS400, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So other people were doing that to their other packages. Mapix, well, BPIX was us. JD Edwards, actually, which is what I ended up learning at CanSun. They were all doing native RPG. So you had to have, so I guess, I don't know why they sent us out there, but they did. And it was out there for about a week, and it took that long to just get it. All the code had to be just basically converted and then tested. And then we'd go out there for like meetings every once in a while, because then SSA, which is the company that made BPIX, eventually bought ASE Services, our consulting company. And so we were owned by this Chicago-based company. And that's kind of when I saw the writing on the wall, and I decided I was going to leave, because I knew that they were going to close down some of the, like the Enfield office, because I was working out of Enfield. But I mean, I was never in there. I was on the road all the time.
Right.
Yeah, the consulting was good for the years I did it, but you can't raise a family when you're traveling all over the place. So.
Yeah. And you and Mom were married at that point?
Yeah.
But Steve wasn't born yet, right? Or was it some point?
No, Steve was born when we after we moved to Hamden. So it was after the Brooklyn job. We moved up to New Haven, Connecticut, and we lived in an apartment down there. And the nice thing about New Haven was it was only an hour to Holyoke, which is where the ASE job was. And it was also like, it was right along, all my clients were along the Gold Coast at that point, you know, along Fairfield.
Wait, so you would commute an hour to work?
No, well, when I eventually took the job with ASE Services, yes. Because for a while we didn't have a place to stay.
Right.
We didn't have a house. And actually at the time, the Feelys who owned this house were friends with Aunt Judy and Uncle Ken around the corner, and they were looking to move. And so they decided, they knew we were looking to buy. So until we could find a house, I was commuting, coming up to Holyoke, and then driving wherever I had to drive, and then going home to. And what they would do is they would try to give me clients in the New Haven area, so I could just end up going home there. But yeah, then the Feelys, we made them an offer. They were looking to sell. They didn't have to go through a realtor, so they saved some money. And voila. And then we moved up here, and that's when Uncle Dave and Uncle Bill. We ended up getting a truck that was way too small for the stuff we had, so we had to make 2 trips.
Oof.
And but New Haven's like an hour 15, hour 20. So Uncle Bill and Uncle Dave were driving the truck, and they dropped the stuff off. We were putting stuff away. They went back down, came back, and they were going to return the Ryder truck, and the timing belt broke on the timing truck. You have to ask Uncle Bill or Uncle Dave about it. They ending up in a bar somewhere in Bridgeport, I think. Yeah. But yeah, it's a good thing they, because that day it rained, and actually we had all the stuff on the lawn. We got everything in, but they had, the good thing they had dropped the second load off. Why we got a truck that was too small, I don't know. We didn't have a lot of stuff, but I don't know. We should have gotten a bigger truck.
Yeah. It's funny. I would think Mom's so good at visualizing how things will fit in a truck.
Yeah.
You, I feel like not so much.
I know.
I feel like you would be like, yeah, this truck is fine. And Mom would be able to be like, nope, it's not going to fit.
No,
or it will fit or something.
I seem to think we knew we got the smaller truck, because it was so, it really was relatively close. It was an hour and 10 minutes, basically.
That's interesting. I've never made a move that's more than half an hour away, right? Yeah. This was my farthest move, was going from Amherst to Palmer.
Yeah.
I moved from East Hampton to Northampton, and then Northampton to Amherst. So if I left something at the house,
the truck we had for you was probably the size truck we needed.
Yeah.
And we didn't got the next size down, one of those step things, which was stupid. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Did you put stuff in your car too, or
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
did you fall in love with the house when you saw it, or was it just this is fine?
Fall in love is, it was,
you liked it,
I liked it.
Yeah.
Again, I think we had in the back of our minds this would be a starter house.
Mm-hmm.
It was certainly affordable enough. Holy crap, yeah. It was affordable enough. It just was a great house. It was clean. didn't have a garage, didn't have a fireplace, which is what I was looking for. Yeah. But the garage I didn't care about, but because all you do is put stuff in there. But
you could put your
the fireplace was something we definitely wanted. So
yeah.
Which is when we added the room, we said,
right,
there has to be. So,
yeah.
But
yep.
The fall in love, I don't know. It was a question of falling in love. It was a nice neighborhood. The price was right.
And at the time, Aunt Judy was just around the corner, right? She was still living.
Judy was right around the corner. So Matt was in heaven, because, he could come over. And at that time, there was a straight through. These fences weren't here or whatever. Mm-hmm. And you could see straight through to their house. So.
Oh. Did you look at other houses too, or was it that?
No.
Yeah.
No, we figured, this was an opportunity, and it wasn't a showcase house, or
right.
We weren't looking for a showcase house. We were looking for something that Steve could have a room in, and if we wanted to expand the family, we had 2 bedrooms. So, and then it was only afterwards that we decided, when you guys were starting to get bigger,
yeah,
especially you guys, that you needed your own space, and we kind of finished half the basement. Mm-hmm. But you guys didn't stick around for long, so.
Had you at any point thought about moving, or once you had more kids, it was just too difficult to do that? Or?
We just figured that refinancing and building on would have been cheaper than buying a bigger house, but because the housing was in East Hampton was still pretty. Even today, it's actually pretty low. Although it's getting more expensive now.
Yeah,
which is nice. You buy in low and everything kind of goes up. as opposed to saying if we moved into Northampton, where the houses have always been expensive, the only place you have to go is down, right? I mean, so, and I like the fact that this house is still basically a small house
Yeah.
in its nature, right? I mean, and
Yeah,
I could,
no, it is.
I could resell it to a starter home kind of thing, but,
Mhm.
I mean, there are nicer houses, a lot of places, but this is comfortable. It worked for us, and
Yeah. I keep thinking a little bit about how, like, if the girls won't let you even get rid of that bench at the kitchen table, I'm almost like, what do they think is going to happen with the house, or kind of a thing.
well, that's going to be your guys' problem. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, it will be, but like, you and Mom can have say in it. You know.
well, I mean, if somebody wanted to move in, and take the house. I mean, that's kind of what Grandma did. I mean, Mom says Grandpa wanted somebody to buy the house, and nobody ever did. But I mean, in that case, though, the house had kind of fallen in somewhat disrepair,
Mm.
and that was a huge house for one person. I mean,
Yeah, it's a big house.
so, but yeah, I would either sell it and you split the money, or somebody moves in, or you build a tiny house out back. You can clean out the shed now. We have
Yeah, put it on Airbnb,
yeah.
$400 a night. All right. I think I might need to go.
Okay.
Just have a few projects cleaning when I want to get to.
Well, let me know when you want me to come out. I'm not doing anything, and
Yeah, sure. Maybe, I don't know what.
we'll have to figure it. So, like I said, between the second and third week is when I'm best.
Okay.
In between infusions. So next Thursday, not tomorrow. Next Thursday is my next infusion. So
Okay.
I can take a look at the garbage disposal with you. We could try to figure out,
Oh, would that timeline sort of work? Like, if we do wind up doing something in Worcester, like, would that timing sort of work?
Yeah.
Like, it would be okay.
Well,
to, like,
I mean,
stop by, or.
Well, no, I'm getting another infusion on the 2nd of July.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
What date is it? No, it's the 24th. It is way later in the month than I thought. I thought it was like the 12th.
I will have just gotten an infusion, so I mean, I couldn't do much, but I could certainly look at but definitely take a look underneath. It's got to be a reset button on that thing.
Okay.
Hit that, and then try your. And then if you don't have a wrench, I'll mail you a wrench.
I think I do. I mean, I do have a bunch of wrenches. I just don't know what I have.
But it's an Allen wrench.
I know I do. Yeah.
It's a big fat Allen wrench.
Yeah, I have plenty of those. I should be able.
And they're designed specifically for garbage disposal, because it's supposed to be a way for you to like free something up if you get a fork or something stuck in it. So take a look at that. I'm sure there's got to be a reset button. That's all it is. And you check the circuit breakers to make sure none of those are tripped.
Yep. Well, I haven't checked those. I mean, I checked them once before for something else, but nothing seemed tripped. And my garbage disposal wasn't working.
Because there should be a circuit breaker on the unit itself. I mean, I know the house is older, but usually garbage disposal are things you replace every 5-8 years kind of thing.
Oh,
so
really?
I'm sure he's replaced it. So
maybe. I mean, I've already lived here for like 3 years.
Yeah, I know, but when did it stop working though? How long have you been living with
Sometime last year.
Okay, so it's possible
maybe winter.
You know what, but I would definitely try the reset button on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Take a flashlight, go underneath there, and just see if you can see a red button.
Okay.
Press it a couple of times, and then fire it up and see if that works.
Sweet. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Dan.
All right. Thanks for checking in. Talk to you later.
I
love you too.
Bye.
Bye. How do I stop? This is one of these days I'll learn to stop.